Love-inspired suspense and HarperAudio present Protecting the Orphan by Jodie Bailey, performed by Lindsley. Forbearing one another, and forgiving one another, if any man have a quarrel against any, even as Christ forgave you, so also do ye. Colossians 3:13. To Jason, I'll dedicate a book to you when you read one. Just kidding. Welcome to the family. We love you. Chapter 1. Someday he'd work up the courage to right everything he'd wronged, but not today. Heath Adler exhaled as his feet hit the sidewalk, and he struggled to restore the rhythm of his afternoon jog through his parents' neighborhood, his old neighborhood, where she still lived. As he rounded the corner onto Rebecca Campbell's street, he slowed, searching for the dark blue Craftsman with white trim and a wide front porch. Even though encountering her was the last thing he was prepared for. It was going to take more miles under his feet and more courage in his heart before he could face her and attempt to fix what he'd broken half a lifetime ago. He owed her an apology, an explanation, something. If he was going to live in the same town as Rebecca, he had to make things right or he'd never have peace. If he hoped to move on from the military, to take over his dad's residential construction company, and to have a future, then he'd have to apologize to Rebecca. Someday. But not today. The spring air in the mountain town of Brevard, North Carolina, was warm and humid as always, since it wasn't a temperate rainforest. As he neared Rebecca's house, humidity made the tightness in his chest even harder to ignore. Finally, there it was. The home Rebecca had grown up in, and had inherited after her mother and stepfather died in a car accident when she was 18. She'd raised her younger sister there, had talked about marrying Heath and settling down there, until he'd blown their future to bits. He never should have... Wait. His pace slowed. An unfamiliar car idled in the gravel drive near the detached single-car garage at the rear of Rebecca's house. The sedan's brown paint was faded and dull, likely from years of exposure to sunshine and pine sap. Though the engine was running, no one was around. It wasn't a delivery. No one was dropping anything off at the porch or the steps by the kitchen door. Rebecca wasn't home. She always parked her dark gray Subaru in front of the garage. In the week he'd been home and making this jog around the neighborhood, no one had visited her, at least not that he'd seen. He stopped and swiped sweat from his furrowed brow. Okay, those observations sounded stalkerish. Rebecca's life was hers to live, and he didn't get to be involved just because they'd once planned a future together. He was about to take off again when he looked toward the kitchen door. The lower left pane closest to the lock was shattered. His heart rate picked up. Maybe he'd make a fool of himself, but if someone had broken into Rebecca's house, he should do something, right? He walked slowly toward the door. "Rebecca, are you home? Is everything okay?" Footsteps sounded as a shadow passed the window near the hallway between the living room and the kitchen. A man wearing jeans burst out the kitchen door. He wore a blue sweatshirt with the hood pulled over his hair. A surgical mask covered the lower half of his face. He jumped from the door to the ground, skipping the concrete steps. Momentum slammed him into the sedan, and he scrambled backward, turning toward the backyard, as though he was going to run in that direction. "Hey!" Heath jogged closer. That trespasser had questions to answer. The man backed up until he collided with the wooden stair rail. He jolted forward, looked around wildly, then lurched toward the car. His movements were shaky. For safety's sake, he shouldn't confront this guy. There was no way to tell if he was violent or armed. No way to know why he was here. Then again, he couldn't let someone who might be under the influence get behind the wheel either. Kids were out of school for the day, and the neighborhood was full of them, riding bikes or walking to their friends' houses. Holding up his hands, Heath tried to keep his voice steady. "Hey, look, I'm a neighbor. I just want to see if you're okay." It was best not to make accusations or threats, although he was desperate to ask what was going on. Was Rebecca safe? "Is there anything I can do to help?" The man stopped near the car door, his gray eyes narrowed. Heath took a cautious step closer, moving to the rear of the car.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?